My pleasure to give this award to Brooke Garber Neidich, who is the co-founder and the chairman of the board of the Child Mind Institute. In the past 5 years, Brooke has built a board of directors that truly has national representation, diversity of age, diversity of talent, but she has helped with that board to raise over $50 million in the past 5 years, helping us build a science platform, a concept also clinically of never turning a child away for inability to pay. And besides all the things you expect a chair to do, which is to manage the board, help raise money, Brooke is intimately involved with our Scientific Research Council, so that includes Kathy Lord, attending a retreat with us for 2 days so that she knows where the science is going and what we have to do. And it makes her a dedicated mother, a passionate advocate, but most importantly, truly an informed citizen that not only cares about her kids, but cares about all of our children. So it's a great honor to give my partner this award. Congratulations.
Thank you. I know it says in my bio that I co-founded the Child Mind Institute with Dr. Koplowitz, but if any of you know Dr. Koplowitz, you know that all I was doing was running alongside him, mostly falling behind, trying to keep up with him as he dragged us, all of us, into this incredible moment when we are hoping for better diagnoses, better treatment, and excellent, excellent science that's going to provide that. I know what it is to be a mother who stays up at night worrying about your children, worrying about their struggles, and not knowing where to turn. I had every resource, every opportunity, and it was incredibly difficult. If I had every resource and every opportunity, I couldn't imagine what it was like for people without those resources, without those opportunities. And so that's what began my path. I felt I had to make a difference. And I am incredibly proud that the Child Mind Institute in 5 years has made extraordinary leaps and extraordinary difference. But all I think about is how much farther we have to go. So thank you for all being part of this, and I am very grateful you're all here and that you'll carry the message forward. I also want to say that I have learned something as my children have gotten older, and that is assortative mating. So even though your children are older, anxious children are going to fall in love and marry anxious children. So I'm going to have, in a very short period of time, since both my sons are married and anxiety is probably the least of it for one of them, anxious grandchildren. So we have a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you for having me here. It's quite a pleasure. I've learned a lot this morning, and having a cousin who has autism and hearing all that this morning was quite interesting, and having a friend who's gone to Windward and is definitely having a great experience and learning is great to hear, and congratulations on all the work that you're doing. But I'm here to introduce Dr. Hagerty. So I got some words. In an education update interview earlier this year, the author referred to Dr. George Hagerty, the third president of Beacon College, as the real deal, a professional whose expertise is at the service of his heart, and it's easy to see why. Beacon College is located in Leesburg, Florida. At the time of its founding 25 years ago, which I have to know was the start of the Americans with Disabilities Act, it was the first 4-year baccalaureate degree program that devoted to students with learning disabilities and ADHD. Dr. Hagerty strongly believed that learning differently can be learning to succeed. During his brief tenure at Beacon, he has already started implementing an ambitious plan of innovation, renovation, introduction of new academic programs, all targeted at marshaling every resource to support student success. While an undergraduate, Dr. Hagerty contracted an eye disease that has progressively diminished his sight. Undeterred, he graduated from Massachusetts Stonehill College and went to earn his master's and doctoral degrees from Harvard. Over the past 30 years, he has built a national reputation in the areas of public service, policymaking, higher education, and leadership. After completing a postdoctoral fellowship with the U.S. Department of Health Education and Welfare, Dr. Hagerty began his early career at the newly created Office of Special Education Programs in the United States Department of Education. He is the president and emeritus of Franklin Pierce University in New Hampshire and a former provost and university professor at Hellenic American University in Athens, Greece. Among his many professional recognitions, Dr. Hagerty has served as chairman of the board of directors of the National Association of Independent Colleges and Universities. He also was a board member of American Community on Education, where he served on its commission on leadership and institutional effectiveness. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Hagerty.
Thank you very much, Victor, and Paul and Adam. Thank you for having this event. And let me just start out by saying that I have lived a remarkable life. And I have done so much due to the issue of my vision. When I was 19 years old, I had perfect vision. I was an athlete. I drove cars fast. I chased girls. Had to chase them a lot because they were way ahead of me. And then I got a rare disease of the retinas, and it changed my life entirely for the better. I had to become a student. I was very raw and undisciplined. But I remember something that really shocked me and set my ambitions in motion for what I wanted to do in the area of education. The evening before my graduation from Stonehill College, a professor came up to me. And I was with my parents. And my parents kind of walked away, and he pulled me aside and he said, "I heard you're going to Harvard." And I said, "Yes, I'm going to Harvard." He said, "You know, when I first met you, I had you as a sophomore, which is right after I got the disease, and I was heavily medicated." And he said, "I thought you were the village idiot." Two things from that experience. Number one, I didn't self-identify. I didn't say, the kid who was here last year is very different this year. So I certainly hit it. But he was never prepared to take on somebody who sat in the back, who didn't answer questions, who was a little different from the other students at that time. Within 18 months, the prednisone and all the other things that they had given me brought my residual vision back. And I had the opportunity to go for what was then called the Bureau of Education for the Handicapped. And 25 years ago, we had the Americans with Disability Act, a remarkable achievement. But you may know that 40 years ago, a law was passed called the Education for All Handicapped Children Act, Public Law 94-142, which was really the first piece of civil rights legislation for children and youth with disabilities. We had the Rehab Act in Section 504 in 1973, and then the Education for All Handicapped Children Act. I had the privilege of working on the regulations for that law as a postdoctoral fellow, and then as a member of what then became the U.S. Department of Education. And I was responsible for the area called the Comprehensive System of Personnel Development. And that conversation that I had with that professor taught me that this is not only, when you design a comprehensive system of personal development, it's not just for the specialists. It's not just for the special educators. It's not just for the support personnel. It's for regular educators as well, because we had the free and appropriate education, we had the least restrictive environment. And you need to know, when we were writing these regulations, we had a lot of missing I said I've lived an extraordinary life. I've lived overseas for 5 years, just before we came to Beacon. But I started out my career in special education. And and then I went into mainstream higher education. And the truth of the matter is, I have had the extraordinary opportunity to have my career come full circle, and to go to an institution, to be selected to serve an institution like Beacon College. And we have one of our trustees here. We also have people from Pennsylvania, Debbie and Josh Resnick, who I'm very happy came today to see this honor. And Beacon is an institution that, with Landmark, started in the 1980s. And the remarkable piece that I found about Beacon, which I very honestly had not heard of 2.5 years ago, the very remarkable piece was that it was started by parents. Because when we were writing these regulations, I will tell you, in 78, 79, we were trying to refine them, particularly around the issue of learning disabilities. We said many of these students can go on to post-secondary education. And we kept asking, then what? And it was before we had transition programs and all of the rest. Well, just 10 years later, a group of parents got together in Leesburg, Florida, and decided that they were going to develop an institution exclusively devoted to students with learning disabilities and ADHD, much as Landmark had done in 1986. And the beauty of this little place is that it refuses to be self-satisfied. Our numbers are remarkable. We have a 4-year graduation rate for an accredited, SACS-accredited institution of higher education, liberal arts institution, of 76%. The national average for students with learning disabilities and ADHD 4-year graduation rate, according to the National Longitudinal Transitional Study, says it's only 6%. I believe that's an ethical issue that higher education must deal with, because higher education must not only be looking for admitted students, they must be looking for graduates. Because these students have been challenged all the way up the line in the K through 12 system. And they and their families have great expectations for their child once admitted to graduate. And it's places like Beacon, like Landmark, that are safe places for these students to learn. And I think you see in the results real ambitions coming to life. We have decided at Beacon, we're very happy with the results that we have for our students, including an 83% employment, postgraduate employment, and graduate study rate. Remember, these students all came from managed expectations. Most of them were told they would never go to college. And about 10% of our students go immediately on to graduate school, competitive graduate school. And the truth of the matter is that these students are finding, I apologize, I'm having a senior moment here, where we are finding that for our students, as they go into employment, we want them to have the best quality employment. And so what we are doing is putting in place a series of 15 national partnerships with national firms, so that our students will be mentored, they'll have an internship, and then hopefully employment with these companies. We've started that process, and we're going to complete it next year. We have companies like JetBlue, we have Northrop Grumman, SeaWorld, and we hope J.P. Morgan will become one of our newest partners. This is all for our students to realize those ambitions, which are very real ambitions that any student should have. So I have lived a remarkable life, and I thank you very much for this honor, and I'm very honored to be with the other honorees as well. Thank you very much.
I'm Devin Fredericks. I am an unremediated learning disabled student. School is the hardest thing I ever had to do. When I graduated from high school, I said, I am never doing anything that challenging again. I essentially built my own tent and have been living in it pretty successfully ever since. I did want my own children to love school and to have a better experience than I'd had, and I noticed very early that they wouldn't get out of their pajamas and go to school, and realized that they had a lot of the same issues that I had, which led me to the Windward School. And I've had the honor and pleasure as a parent, as a trustee, and for the last 6 years as board chair of working with Dr. Russell. We've also had an extraordinary board of trustees with us. Dr. Russell has shared, and the board has shared my concern about how challenging it is to have a place at Windward. The need is great, and there have never been enough seats for all the students who have wanted to attend the school. 6 years ago, we determined that a campus in Manhattan was the best way to create, a way to create more seats and to raise the profile of the program. And I'm very happy and proud to say that this September, Dr. Russell is going to preside over the opening of a Manhattan campus with 350 additional seats. So thank you to Paula Rosen and the Educational Update for recognizing Dr. Russell's unmatched energy, dedication, and commitment to helping so many young students achieve their potential.
Windward is really blessed with an incredible board of trustees who are very generous with their time, their expertise, and they're staunchly supportive, and Devin certainly personifies that in every way. I want to thank everybody at Education Update, especially Paula, for the recognition today. I'm most fortunate to be the head of the Windward School. I told a couple of people that I should have begun with this. I'm a recovering public school superintendent. And I can't tell you how fortunate I feel to be the head of this school. And I understand and realize full well that the honor I'm receiving today is in fact a direct result of the collaborative efforts of lots and lots of people. So I want to recognize Windward's Board of Trustees and faculty. It's their dedicated service that produces the results that we celebrate today. So I'm proud to stand with Education Update. You know, I want to suggest something. Never have Harold speak first. It makes it so difficult for everybody else. But I want to really congratulate Education Update and recognize what Paula and everybody on the staff has done. Education, I think, is fundamentally a political process, and if we're going to accomplish what Harold has suggested, and with the tent metaphor, it's going to take lots of different organizations, not just us, we in education, but it's also going to take organizations like Paula's and Education Updates. I'm frankly humbled by the company I'm with today. President Hagerty, President Eden, Brooke Neidich, founder of the Child Mind Institute. I want to congratulate all of them for their outstanding work and the recognition that they're receiving today. I believe, like Harold, that it's time for a united effort among institutions like the ones represented today, like schools, colleges, research institutions, political organizations, to elevate the discussion of disabilities to a national level. This country simply cannot afford to squander the talents nor ignore the potential of our students. And it's gone on far too long. Year after year, the lives of too many learning disabled students are filled with serious academic challenges that jeopardize their future success in school and in life. Part of this tragedy is due to serious misunderstandings that the general public and some educators, obviously no one in this room, have about learning disabilities. Harold's professor was a perfect example, but unfortunately it continues. A recent survey by the National Council on Learning Disabilities revealed an alarming number of misconceptions held by educators and the general public. 43% wrongly think that learning disabilities are correlated to IQ. It's not just the general public. I've actually heard a psychologist say to one of our parents, "Oh, I've got good news." And the parent said, "Yeah, what's that?" She said, "Well, you saw the results of your son's IQ test, right?" And mom says, "Yes." And she said, "Well, you saw his IQ?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "He's too smart to be dyslexic." That's a psychologist. 22% think that learning disabilities are caused by too much TVs. That's an alternate theory to the seeing your parents have intercourse theory. But if either one of those doesn't work, maybe you fall into the group because 34% believe that learning disabilities are caused by poor diet. 55% believe that corrective eyewear can treat certain learning disabilities. And 34% believe that students with learning disabilities harm the overall classroom environment. Again, another psychologist. And the reason I'm not picking on psychologists, but these are people who are informed. So you can only imagine the people who are less informed by virtue of not having studied learning theory. Said in a moment of frustration during a CSE meeting, a Committee on Special Education meeting, for those of you not familiar with the parlance, "Let's face it," this is a direct quote, "let's face it, we all know that learning disabled students don't respond to intervention. I'm certain all of us here today believe that disabled students can succeed when they receive appropriate instruction and their teachers, and this is critical, receive adequate support. For more than 35 years, the Windward School has been transforming the lives of these students through our research-based methodology. And for those of you who don't know Windward, we're a co-educational independent school dedicated to providing instructional programs for children with language-based learning disabilities. We have 570 children with language-based learning disabilities. We do that by delivering a multisensory curriculum using direct instruction methodology, which improves our students' language skills. Academic success, and a number of the speakers, Harold mentioned this, and we all believe it, I think. Academic success combined with opportunities for social and emotional growth within an intentionally diverse and inclusive setting enables students to understand learning styles, build confidence, and develop self-advocacy skills. Windward is committed to helping students achieve their full potential in preparation for a successful return to mainstream educational environment. I can tell you that 98 to 99%, it varies from year to year, of our students leave Windward and go into mainstream settings, not special education settings. To meet these goals, the school provides ongoing training to its faculty based on the most current research, and we share our expertise with parent bodies, other educators, and the broader educational community. To wit, I invite all of you to attend our endowed lecture series on April 22nd. We will have Dr. John Gabrielli, a really remarkable fellow from MIT who is doing work on fMRIs and the connections that fMRI can have directly with educational practices. And that's on April 22nd up at Windward. And I distributed some brochures about our Teacher Training Institute. They're either in your packets or on the tables. Despite having transformed the lives of many students and their families, thousands of more students continue to struggle. In fact, each year we're forced to turn away 2 to 3 times the number of eligible students that apply. So I'm pleased today, as Devin has mentioned previously, that we are poised to open an additional campus on 93rd Street, right off 3rd Avenue, that will allow us to educate 350 more deserving students each year. The lives of our students begin to change dramatically when they enter Windward. We know this because we continually monitor their educational progress, and that informs our instruction on a daily basis. We also analyze students' performance as measured on standardized test scores. And this is quite remarkable. We compare their entrance scores on standardized tests to their exiting scores. And when they enter, we have an inside kind of joke in Windward. Unlike other independent schools, in order to get into Windward, You have to fail the entrance exam, and then when you start doing really well, we ask you to leave. So 98% of our children leave and go on to a mainstream school. I mentioned that. What's really remarkable is 96% of our students, when they leave, have scores on standardized tests for vocabulary, comprehension, and math problem solving in the average to above average range. And we survey our students' schools after they leave, so we wait 2 years after they leave. And so I've been tracking this data for 10 years. And 96% of our students, no matter what school they go to, and about 50% of our kids leave us and go to public schools, and about 50% go to independent schools. 96% of those students are judged by their schools to be at or above their grade level peers academically 2 years after they leave to Windward. So the effect of the instruction is not only immediate, it's persistent. As Windward becomes part of the New York City education community, we look forward to collaborating with institutions like the Child Mind Institute and colleges like Beacon, like Landmark, and other colleges and universities in the area. But most directly, with our colleagues in New York City's public and independent schools. I believe together, and only together, with clear focus, steadfast commitment, and an unwavering sense of purpose, we can improve the lives of the 1 in 5 children and adults nationwide with learning issues. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everybody.
And the next honoree is Peter Eden, who comes from the president of Landmark College, who is very, very keenly aware of helping students surmount whatever their dilemma problems are, and to continue on. Now, Landmark is a school for learning disabilities, and what Peter has done was really incredible. He has turned it into from a two-year school to a 4-year college and beyond. So students can get their bachelor's degrees, they can go on for graduate degrees, they are supported enormously on campus. I've been a member of that board of trustees for a number of years. It is a research institute, it has STEM programs, and the new building, brand new building going up, will have STEM tech innovation, key pieces to the success formula and learning. So I am delighted to welcome Peter here and to give him this very well-deserved award. Peter, thank you for all that you do for students over the years at Landmark and beyond. One of them I know went on to MIT. Poor thing.
Thank you, Paula. Paula and Jay, I know Harold's not here, but I don't know what kind of a operation you run here, Paula, but I thought it would be safe to bring my 6-year-old here today. I didn't know that 2 different people would mention sexual intercourse. So now I'm prepared for any future invitations. Thank you very much. It's really an honor to be here today, and Harold said a number of things which resonate with me and are germane to my very brief speech today. And one is that these students in high school, they need to see success. They need to achieve success, not halfway through the semester with a midterm, but success every day, because the future looks kind of grim to many of them. And that's because there's such a dearth of good models at the post-secondary level. Their LD education at the college level is not where it needs to be at all. There are only 2 dedicated models for LD, Beacon and Landmark College. That's it. There are a lot of programs which serve students who learn differently. When I say LD, I mean LD writ large. Learn differently, learn and operate differently. Just 2 dedicated models, Beacon, Landmark College. And we're starting to work together in a partnership so that we can gain from each other's strengths, which has been a long time coming, I think. There are programs within more mainstream colleges, and I must admit I bristle a little bit when I hear that term mainstream. I really do. Landmark College is a mainstream college. folks. It's got everything a student needs. Everything. Sports, 2-year programs, 4-year programs, student clubs, study abroad, internships, friends, everything. But it's a non-mainstream educational model. And I think this is really important. We talked about the stigma, the tense. I'll be honest with you. You know, I don't know how many students, although it's changing, I must say, think of Landmark College growing up. But they want to go to college. So by making it a more mainstream experience, so they can be proud of it, but one engineered for LD, that's the answer. And I'll tell you what else is missing, folks. And this is apropos of Jay's comments. We need to work together. There needs to be a continuum of learning, a continuum of teaching. What other industry doesn't study its customers? I mean, college, we wait to learn when they arrive in late August for their freshman year. That's when we understand our customers. We need to work in intentional and strategic ways with secondary schools. I want to know our customer better. I want to know what kind of technology they're using. Are they using native software in their iPhones for learning? Quite possibly. I don't want to wait until they get to college. So, one thing Landmark College is doing is we have been doing this for several years now, but we're developing even more advanced placement college courses, and we're providing them to, at this point, 2 very, very good high schools which specialize in LD. Their seniors and juniors want advanced placement college courses. They need them. Landmark College is now delivering them. But how? I got up at 4:30 this morning to come down from Vermont, okay? So how do you do that when the schools are in New York City and nearby? We're developing online courses. Now, I know this may seem antithetical to special education and teaching and learning. I'm looking at Ann Fine over there, one of our professors, who teaches some of our online courses. We are developing these online courses with universal design elements in them, technology integrated into these courses, multiple modalities for presentation and response by the students. And what we're doing is we're providing these advanced placement college courses to these high school juniors and seniors for college credit with a facilitator on the ground to help them. Landmark College professor delivers the college course. High school senior takes that advanced placement course and has one of his or her instructors in the room to help them as well. It allows our professors to brush shoulders with the high school instructors. It allows these students to understand how to learn in an online milieu. And they will be faced with online education. This is one of the ways that we're going about working with some of the younger students so they can gain success, gain college credit, and realize that there are places like Landmark and Beacon that are just perfect for them and are much more mainstream than anyone would ever imagine. Now, this continuum of learning and continuum of teaching, we're working on it, but it doesn't stop there. You know what we have to do. We have to provide this sort of approach with academic elements, but also internships, and now we have to work hard on job placement. Now that Landmark College is a 4-year college, in about 1 year we'll have our first baccalaureate graduate. We've been a 2-year college until about 2 years ago. We've done really well. I mean, our graduates, our associate degree graduates, 9 out of 10 go on to a BA or BS program. They graduate at a rate higher than the national average for all learners. There's no better empirical proof that what we do at Landmark College is build skills and strategies that they take with them. There's no better empirical proof. But soon, like Beacon, we will have baccalaureate graduates. And that's when they'll face the realities of the employment world. And this is why, as we build in internships and applied learning, this kind of continuum will start to change the way the public thinks about LD and the way employers recognize the strengths of these many students, that having LD is not a deficit, It doesn't mean you have a compensatory genius. I don't believe that for a minute. But you have strengths. You think differently. It's just the neurodiversity at work in the learning environment. So these are the things that we're doing at Landmark College. These are the things we need to do, all of us, to understand how students learn from an early age, give them a taste of college, embolden them to imagine going to a college, any college, maybe even a college like Beacon and Landmark, without any shame. I'm really honored to get this recognition today. It means a lot to me. I'm proud to be part of this industry, part of something so important that changes lives every day. I never thought it would be this powerful when I joined Landmark College. It's every day we see a student whose life has changed because we believe in them and we're giving them the tools for success. So, Paula, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you've done for the Board of Trustees at Landmark College. We miss you. And I want to thank you all for everything.